Micah Parsons was absolutely unbelievable as a rookie and clearly made a great name for himself. But let's talk about what he did so well. And in this video, I really want to mostly specify on what he did around the line of scrimmage, whether it's run defense or his ability to rush the passer, and that could be as a linebacker or as an edge rusher. Like, for example, something like this, where it's going to be a one-on-one matchup against the left tackle. This is going to be a running play, but I think this is a great example of showing how he's able to have such a good impact on a lot of these plays. To me, his number one attribute is his speed. He, I think, makes decisions well. He doesn't cheat necessarily, where he's not constantly just, making a decision immediately before he even knows if it's a run or a pass. It does seem like he puts himself in the right position constantly, and when he does, he is able to use that to his advantage. Watch how right when this play begins, just watch his burst and how he's able to get closer to the inside, so for the left tackle trying to block him, beach him on this play, who's not a bad tackle, it's just a little bit more difficult for him to block Parsons because Parsons did such a good job of reading the play and moving in quickly. And again, to be clear, what I mean by not cheating is I feel like I rarely see him do this on like a play action, for example. It will happen, maybe even more so than your average player, but for the most part, I think he still does a good job at doing this when it's running plays, not when it's passing plays. As you see, he is able to get in and he helps make that tackle. It's just being able to make decisions quickly and getting a splash play, which is what Parsons brings to the Dallas Cowboys, is he'll get those highlight reel level plays and he'll get those consistently. He's the baseball equivalent of like a home run hitter who I still think has a relatively high batting average. I also think something like this is just, quite frankly, it's unfair. The fact that you can have someone who's an incredible, just pure edge rusher who then can play off-ball linebacker and can then blitz as an off-ball linebacker like he's going to do on this play, leaving a halfback to have to block Micah Parsons. I mean, this is just not fair. This shouldn't happen. Watch how right when this play begins, you're going to see how, at this point, what do you do if you're a halfback? Typically, you just try to throw your body in the way of a linebacker, but that's partially typically because linebackers, aren't necessarily the best pass rushers, which is why they play, obviously, when I say linebacker, I mean off-ball linebacker. Parsons, though, does a great job of making this move, and he would have gotten the pressure had that ball, had that not gotten rid of so quickly. Something like this is another interesting example where he's going to be going up against a guard on this play. He'll be going up one-on-one against a left guard, which is, again, a way that, it can happen when you're trying to blitz, and he can win these matchups as well. Look at how right when this play begins, again, he's so fast and shifty. His explosiveness is definitely, that's his key attribute. That's what makes everything else go, is how explosive he is. And because of that, when you have a guard who maybe isn't used to kind of dealing with these shifty guys the way that Parsons is, it's going to put you in a tough spot. You see, I paused it right here for a reason. You see how far over Parsons got his right hand on this play. It's kind of really incredible, I think. His right hand is basically like that just looks like you're patting someone on the back right there. That's how far over his hand is. Meanwhile, for the guard, it looks like, his arms are maybe on Parsons all the way on his left side of his body. You're just not going to be able to block him like that. Parsons is able to get through, and he is able to get this sack right here. So again, it's kind of a non-traditional way, which, that's definitely something that's very true. And some people can say, well, that doesn't carry over year to year entirely the way it would in more traditional ways. And that's probably fair to some degree. But it's not like he was only winning in these ways. Look at how something like this is a great example of how he can win in traditional ways. Going up one-on-one against a right tackle. This is just him being an edge rusher. This is what he would do from time to time. And again, it's going to be that explosiveness that's really going to wow you. Watch just this beginning part of this play is the reason why I wanted to show it. Look at how he just is able to get right by right there to where, for a tackle, I think doing a solid job at holding his own, but it's just going to be tough. Parsons now realizes that he can make an inside move to get to Bridgewater, and Bridgewater actually reads this well. Look, Parsons goes to the inside, Bridgewater bounces to the outside, but then he tries to run past Parsons, which is just not going to work, so Parsons is still able to eventually get there. The sack is made despite Bridgewater's best efforts, and again, it's all set up from that explosiveness right off the bat. It's his 0 to 60 ability that I think really makes everything work, whether it's him being an off-ball linebacker or him just being a pure edge rusher. It's that physical trait that then makes everything else work. And even something like this, of just he knows how to generate pressure. He knows how to find gaps to run through. This play, it's set up well by Denver. Like, this is set up in a way that everyone should be blocked, and you have a center blocking Parsons, which is probably, that's the guy you want to make sure that if two players are blitzing, you want to make sure that an offensive lineman, who you can only have one offensive lineman, block one of those two players. The other would have to be blocked by a halfback. You don't want the halfback on Parsons. You want the center on Parsons. This is done well, where the offensive line is going to be blocking to their left, which means the center is blocking to his left. This is good. The flip side for Parsons is he notices this. He knows that there's a good chance the center could be trying to block him, which would mean that the halfback is blocking 42, the player who is to Parsons' left, which means that there could be a gap on that side. Look, as you see, Parsons, this is not a design play. Parsons just reads this and gets over and makes the sack on Bridgewater. Just a great play from Micah Parsons. And again, he knows how to, some guys just have a knack for that. They can just read plays and find a way to get into the gap that they have to get into. And Parsons is definitely one of those guys. And when he's already one of the most explosive players in the NFL, that's what makes it such a deadly combo. So yeah, with Micah Parsons, it really is fascinating. He has done such an incredible job with this Dallas Cowboys team, and he's played so many different roles, and I think done all of them very well. Specifically, I think he's been a fine off-ball linebacker at like that stuff. I don't think he's been amazing, but he's been very good for a rookie at that stuff, I would say. Really where he has thrived has been at or around the line of scrimmage. Again, doesn't that necessarily have to be him being a pure edge rusher, which is, I think, kind of maybe where some of his, highlights come from. Granted, his highlights come from a lot of different places, but I think most people view him as just a guy who rushes the passer, or like that's his biggest attribute. And while I don't necessarily disagree, he just does so many different things well. And that's kind of what is just so fascinating about him, is he is this unique player who can do multiple things at an incredibly high level at the NFL level, which is just, I can't really think of, another guy like that. Maybe like a Shohei Ohtani, which is obviously a completely different scenario in its own right, but it's very rare for a linebacker to be, it's not quite Shohei Ohtani rare, but it is very rare for someone to be this good at that kind of stuff. Again, we've seen it before. A lot of those Patriots guys are guys who rush the passer and also, can play off ball, but usually they're mostly one thing but can do the other. Parsons, it feels like if you have him line up as an edge rusher, you're losing an awesome off-ball linebacker, and if you have him line up as an off-ball linebacker, you're losing an awesome edge rusher, which is kind of the unique thing about him, is that he can do both so well. So that's kind of what I think about this stuff. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Micah Parsons and his rookie season? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.